Welcome at Maths Form 4. Today we are doing questions of quadratic equation involving quadratic inequalities. So in one question we will have the quadratic equation and also quadratic inequalities. Let's look at the question. Step 1, collect what is given. The quadratic equation px minus 1 equals 3x minus x plus p, where p is a constant, has no roots. Find the range of the values of p. As usual, what they ask, we put question mark. Step 2, we start from what they ask. So they're asking p, we go to the equation that has the p, which means I'm going to start with the quadratic equation. Right back, that would be px minus 1 equals to 3x squared minus x plus p. If you remember that quadratic equation, it is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. It must have 0. In our equation, there is no 0. Therefore, I have to take the left hand side, transfer to right, or right hand side, transfer to left to get the 0. And which side am I going to transfer? It would depend on the x squared. Since x squared is positive, what am I going to do? I'm going to keep the 3x squared on the right hand side and then transfer the left hand side to the right hand side. Because the x squared is positive on the right hand side, I maintain the right hand side. Left hand side I transfer to get the 0. So now 3x squared I've already copied back, and then I have minus x. I copy back on the right hand side. Now I transfer the px to the right hand side. This is positive px. Transfer to the right hand side. I'm going to get negative px. So px is settled. The 3x squared also settled. Minus x is also settled. So now I have plus p right hand side. Plus p right hand side. That is also settled. Last, the negative 1 left hand side transfer to right hand side, which will become positive 1. Since the left hand side has been transferred, which means left hand side now, the left hand side now becomes 0. I have to simplify this. 0 equals to 3x squared. If you notice, x, we got two terms. I got x in two places. Whereas quadratic equation, x is only in one place. That is telling me that this minus x minus px, this part I must factorize. So that x in two places becomes x in one place. And in factorizing, the negative x I take out. I take out the negative. And then I'm going to take out the x, put on the right hand side. Okay, put on the right hand side. That is the x. So now, if the x I've taken out, so here will be 1. Because negative I've taken out, so inside is positive. Again, the x I've taken out, so balance got p. So 1 plus p in the brackets. Plus the last two terms, I just copy back p plus 1. So I have got now my quadratic equation. I've got my quadratic equation. Next, watch carefully. I have x. As I said in the previous video, this x, the values of x is called roots. The values of x is called roots. And I said roots got 3 types. One of it I have done in my previous video. One of it. Here, the type that is given is has no roots. So this is the third type. No roots. Sometimes they call it complex roots. For this, no roots or complex roots, the formula is b squared less than 4ac. b squared less than 4ac. When there are no roots or complex roots, it is b squared less than 4ac. Where are we getting the ABC? Of course, from the equation. So if you look here, a is in front of x squared. So now, a is 3. B is in front of x. This is the x, The b is in front of the x, including the negative sign. So now b is negative 1 plus p. This is our b. And finally, c is the last number, p plus 1. C is p plus 1. I should put the brackets because we have 2 terms. So we have got our ABC. Now we will take our ABC, put inside the formula. Okay, watch. First, b squared. The b is negative, brackets 1 plus p. So this would be negative, brackets 1 plus p. Don't forget, you must square the whole thing. Okay, must square the whole thing. So I'm going to use a square brackets. I'm going to use a square brackets. Square brackets and then square. Okay, so I have done b squared less than 4. The a is 3 and the c is p plus 1. You must have the brackets, p plus 1. So here, watch, you must square both the negative and the brackets. Square both the negative and the brackets. And we know that negative square becomes positive. No need to write. And then we have 1 plus p square. I'm going to write it back. 1 plus p brackets square less than. On the right hand side, I'm going to expand. That is 4 times 3, 12. So 12 times p, you will get 12p. And then 12 times 1, we are going to get 12. Okay? And here, as usual, left hand side going to expand. Previously, I have said that this expansion, hold on, this expansion follow your lower secondary, that was a plus b bracket square is a square plus 2ab plus b square. Don't forget this, this comes from your lower secondary. So when I expand this according to this formula, I will get 1 square is 1 plus 2, 1p. So 2 times 1 times p, of course I'm going to get 2p plus the p square. P square, just write back p square. Less than 12p plus 12. Okay? And again, watch. This one is square, quadratic. This is quadratic. Because it has a square, it is quadratic. And then we have less than. This sign less than is inequality. Which means now our expression, this is actually quadratic inequalities. So now we have quadratic inequalities. And if you remember quadratic inequalities of the previous lesson, it must have a 0. And our equation, our quadratic inequality, has no 0. So which means I'm going to take these quadratic inequalities, modify to get 0. I'm going to copy back. I just copy back. That is 1 plus 2p plus p square less than 12p plus 12. The p square is positive. The p square is positive on the left hand side. So I maintain the p square. Okay. And then plus 2p. And now I'm going to bring on the right hand side 12p to the left hand side, which will give me minus 12p. So this part is settled. The p square is settled. The 2p is settled. Finally, I'm going to bring plus 12 to the left hand side, which will give me 1 minus 12 less than. The whole right hand side has been transferred to left. That means right hand side is 0. So from here, we have p square, 2p minus 12p, that would be minus 10p. And then 1 minus 12, you'll get minus 11 less than 0. Okay? Now, we have, what we have now is the quadratic inequalities. As I said previously, that the quadratic inequalities, there are 4 steps. There are 4 steps in solving. And the step 1, it must have 0. So we already got our 0 already. Okay, step 1, we already have our step 1. That is, there must be 0. So we already established our step 1. And if you remember step 2 from the previous videos, step 2 is factorizing. Factorizing, which means p square, I break up into p and p. Okay? And then these 11 I have to break up. Only can break up 1 and 11. That's all we can break up. And then from here, and then we have to get negative 10. In order to get negative 10, I must take 1p minus the 11p. In order to get the negative 10, I have to make this as positive, this as negative. You actually can use calculator for this. So I no need to show the detailed working of factorizing. So from here, step 2 is settled. Step 2 settled, which was factorizing. I factorize, I got 2 factors. Now, step 3, you have to break up the factors. Break up the factors. That is p plus 1 and p minus 11 and p minus 11. As I said previous lesson, when you break up, even here is less than 0. When you break up, it must be more than 0. I repeat, here less than 0, but when you break up, it's more than 0. Okay? So in step 3 now, from here, the plus 1 I transfer to the right hand side. I'm going to get p more than negative 1. And then negative 11 transfer to right side. I'm going to get p more than 11. I remind you, this is not the answer, because we have our step 4. And what was step 4? What was step 4? It was the line number. It was the line number. And what is a line number? Line number easy, It is a number. It is a line that has a number. The line number is a line that has a number. Now we do what? You take the negative 1 and 11, put in the line number. Take the negative 1 and the 11, put in the line number. The smaller number, put on the left hand side. The bigger number, put on the right hand side. Okay? Smaller left hand, bigger right hand. Now I will start with the smaller number, p more than negative 1. I go to negative 1, more than is to the right side. Is to the right side. And when there is an arrow, we put positive. You watch, I put positive both sides. And when there is no arrow here, I'm going to put negative. That's all. Now I repeat for P more than 11. I go to 11. More than 11 is on the right hand side. Again, repeat. Where got arrow, I will put positive. No arrow, here got no arrow, I put negative. You watch, I put negative 2 places. And finally, you watch. Positive with positive, it will become positive. And then negative and positive, it becomes negative. And finally, negative and negative become positive. Now, which one we take? Do we take the negative or do we take the positive? We have to go back to step 1. We have to go back to step 1 to find which one. So I go back to step 1. If you notice here in step 1, it is less than 0. Step 1, less than 0. The expression is less than 0. So in step 1, it was less than 0. And we know that less than 0, of course, is negative. So we are going to take the negative part only. Let me shade that for you. So we are going to take only the negative. And that negative is between negative 1 and 11. So our answer must be between negative 1 and 11. Therefore, our P, if you look at 11, the shaded area is on the left hand side. Left hand side is less than. So P less than 11. And if you look at negative 1, the shaded area is on the right hand side. Right hand side more than. So more than negative 1. Finally, we got our answer. This is our answer. The values of P, more than negative 1, but less than 11. Now, this is a good question. It involves quadratic equation with quadratic inequalities. Thank you for watching. I see you next lesson.